Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Sphumelele Zondi. This week we have information on the Wired Women Conference. We tell you about fiber to the home and how it can improve internet access. Motorola is back with a new phone. We'll find out about it tonight. Our discussion is on the Fees Must Fall online conversations. JP Kloppers will join us for that discussion. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za and email. Let's start with your technology and social media news. Now, if you try to log on to many sites, and that includes social media sites on Friday and Saturday, then you could have been experiencing problems. This is because a lot of websites from the West suffered a massive hack attack on Friday. Now, these include Twitter, Spotify, Amazon, Reddit, Netflix, and the New York Times. It is not yet clear who hacked these sites, but some American media say Russian hackers are being investigated for this. It's believed to have been a coordinated attack on DIN, which is a major DNS host for these sites. Most of the sites are back now, so you would be able to tweet or visit some of your favorite movie streaming sites. Now, Wired Women Conference took place this week. It's a women-inspired conference with the aim to include women in the tech discussion. This year, they're focusing on topics like blockchain, which is a new buzzword.
One of the topics discussed at this year's Wired Women Conference is the buzzword blockchain. Blockchain has been brought up a lot and has left most of us confused. Experts say it is going to disrupt a lot of industries.
Blockchain is a piece of technology using complicated mathematical algorithms that allow you to almost cut out the middleman in some instances where the technology actually acts as a trusted intermediary. What it really is in simple terms, it's a record database that everybody can have access to check whether or not a transaction occurred.
Conferences like Wired Women are trying to include women in tech discussions. Founder Debbie Edelston says they try to stay clear of jargon because not everybody's a techie.
We're trying to open up the space so that more women from a range of different fields feel inspired to become involved, whether it's through leadership, education, digital platforms, marketing. It's a very innovative space. It's about mass innovation right now. It's about collaboration, and it's really about accessing some of the brilliance and talent in the room.
Edelston says she would like a lot more women to be part of this digital era.
Now, while the Data Must Fall movement is planning in March, there are people who believe that fiber to the home could be a solution to increased internet access. But fiber is also important. The reason many are calling for cheaper internet is because it can be a source of information, knowledge, and it can improve loads of entertainment. Yulene Reid tells us what the situation is with fiber to the home in South Africa.
The city of Johannesburg and many other metros across the country are attempting to make the internet accessible to all, and there is great pressure to improve the country's digital infrastructure. About 2 years ago, broadband giant Vumatel started rolling out open access fibre to homes in Parkhurst, Johannesburg.
I think the South African market is quite dynamically positioned, probably far more competitive than most. I think it's pretty deregulated, and I think it's been a beneficiary of that.
The Vumatel infrastructure can provide internet speeds of between 4 and 1,000 megabits per second and provides consumers with the choice of which internet service provider they want to use. Currently, most of the fibre is rolled out in urban areas.
Clearly the metropolitan areas all make sense, and then the secondary cities are probably also in range at the moment for us to expand into. The rural areas, I think the economics is just not there yet. But over time it was like electricity. Initially it started with the main centres, and over time it goes through the secondary cities, and eventually it gets everywhere because it's the new utility, it's the extra utility that we need for the future.
It's a very expensive commodity, and but it has tremendous capacity. So if one builds the right business model and creates a sort of a platform business model, it does facilitate far more effective use of that infrastructure.
The industry had to do what was of interest to them. Hence, we take responsibility as government to say to the industry, we'll take responsibility for infrastructure, the networks. but we invite them to partner in terms of also contributing and operating there, but government invest in it, because the whole idea is to make access to information affordable to consumers. If we allow the private sector to take responsibility for infrastructure, it becomes too costly for the very people we want to connect. And so, because we know as government, you have to have a lever. Our lever is, for instance, spectrum, which they all need. And we are saying it will be prioritized for those areas which are not yet connected, areas with the greatest needs, which will be rural communities, the poorest of the poor. And obviously, industry wants to be in business. They will come and contribute in that channel as well. But the policy is clearer and much more decisive, that we have to close the digital gap. See, it's clearer and much more decisive that we have to close the digital gap.
The industry says in order to be effective, government has to encourage competition amongst internet service providers.
When it comes to spectrum allocation, again, we are promoting competition, allowing new entrants without expecting them to put huge amounts of money down. So once there's competition, obviously, in terms of data, again, you'll find that some people, when they cut the prices down, and everybody will come down.
So it's very, very difficult for a regulator to say, we will demand that you charge so much per gigabyte. Because then they will say, well, if you ask us to charge this much, we are actually going out of business, and we may just not even be able to. Or there will be what is called gold plating, put in excessive costs, such that at the end of the day, the price still goes up, because the operator would say, you know what, this is what it cost me, so tell me how much I should make.
Now, Motorola was once a really popular brand, but 7 years ago, Motorola phones disappeared. Now, PC manufacturers Lenovo has bought the mobile division, and they have launched a flagship device called the Moto Z.
Do you remember the sound?
Hello, Moto.
Well, that was 7 years ago. Now, with an acquisition by Lenovo, Moto, as they call it, is back. The Lenovo's mobile division, Moto, is coming back as a flagship for a PC manufacturer. The company promises to disrupt the mobile phone market with these devices.
We bring a new ecosystem to market, which is something very, very different. So no longer just a phone, but building an ecosystem around modules that can change your phone in a snap.
The Moto phone did not come back on its own. It brought with it some accessories called mods.
What we've brought is, for instance, a JBL speaker that you just snap on, and without any software, it's as you snap it on, it automatically goes into a speaker system, into something that you can dance and enjoy music. So Africa will love it. The second is that with Hasselblad, they've brought a true zoom module, where once I put it in there, you get 10 by optical zoom built into your phones.
The company wants your involvement in the mod's development. They say if you have a great idea or anything that can be built into a mod, they have a developer forum set up just for that. The phones will be available in the country from the beginning of November.
The World Robot Conference is currently taking place in Beijing, and Berlin launches a push to lure tech companies away from London. These are some of the top tech stories that made headlines in the last week.
Smart robotic systems designed to bring convenience to daily life have become one of the highlights of the 2016 World Robot Conference that is being held in Beijing.
It makes the patients feel like they are lying in bed at home when the ambulance is driving on a bumpy road. It also protects the patient from being injured during transportation. This is a homegrown technology that has never been seen in any other country.
The exhibition will be followed by a series of robot contests, including an extreme flying challenge for drones, an aquatic robot challenge, and a RoboCup challenge, where 2 robot teams will face off in a football game. The conference opened on October 21st and will wrap up on the 25th. Now heading over to Brazil. Microsoft opened on Wednesday a transparency center in Brasilia to help guard its products against cyber attacks. Microsoft officials and Brazilian officials were on hand for the ceremony.
We believe that there's a very big potential for this technology in Brazil, and we are on board, working with the Secretary of Public Security of Sao Paulo. We're working on a monitoring project that currently uses 2,500 cameras in 38 municipalities in the state of Sao Paulo, impacting and bringing effective results for public security.
And now we move over to Germany. Berlin launches a push to lure tech companies away from post-Brexit London to the German capital.
The prevailing feeling here in Berlin is that London has more or less taken itself out of the race. We've had a bit of a competition with London in terms of who's the number one digital hub here in Europe for a number of years. And we've always been happy about this competition because obviously it's good for business. But now here the prevailing feeling is really that with the Brexit, London is going to fade in its importance as a digital standpoint in Europe.
Berlin partner planned to open up a pop-up shop in London in November, further driving their push to sell startup life in Berlin. France is unapologetic about the brazen competition with London.
It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and newsnetwork@sabc.co.za and email. After the break, we chat Fees Must Fall with JP Kloppers. Stay with us.
A presumed U.S. drone strike in the south of the country has killed 3 al-Qaeda suspects.
Death toll in Yemen's 18-month-old civil war now stands at about 10,000.
People get killed or die and are actually buried before they're recorded. And we don't have a way of recording that, but we know the numbers are much higher.
Water restrictions are to be imposed on villages in and around the Nkomazi municipality.
Pumps can't pump the water because there's no water in a river. And if the water is coming back, then it's full of mud.
Those who can pray and those who can do any miracle to make sure that we've got enough rain, give it a try.
It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, newsnetwork@sabc.co.za. Welcome back. Now, the digital education showcased some of the best education technologies that can be adopted. We've visited the expo. As we now live in the digital world, many in the education space came to the digital education show to show off what they have. Morne Kutzer's online maths program, Mathsman, came after he realized how much he'd struggled as a child and how he had found methods to improve and be great in maths, to the point that he did it at university.
It builds the confidence as they continue because it doesn't allow you to continue unless you pass it. So you must listen to the class. So you got me teaching it, and thereafter we give you the relevant problems that you need to conquer. And then after that, it tests you. So you got your teacher, you got your textbook, and you've got your results all in one.
Some were there to talk about methods that can improve the quality of education.
Everybody is complaining about the bad state of education, and now we have a crowdfunding opportunity where people can dig into the pockets and they can actually contribute towards education in South Africa. How it works is you can go to the website isupporteducation.co.za. You can either support an individual teacher to do a digital education training course, or you can support a school to roll out a digital mathematics program in the school.
Players in the education space would then be able to decide which methods and programs from the digital education show they would like to implement. Now, staying with issues about education, Fees Must Fall has dominated the social media conversation in South Africa. It's a topic that first emerged last year when students took to the streets in South Africa's major cities to demand that the data costs be brought down. Apart from protests in Pretoria, Durban, Pietermaritzburg, Cape Town and many other cities again in the last few weeks have gone online to discuss South Africa's high university fees. Now, joining me to discuss this from our Cape Town studios is Brand's CEO, JP Kloppers. Hello, and thank you for being a part of our network.
Great, thanks for having me. Good
now, JP, from your social media data analysis, there were obviously some interesting conversations recently around Fees Must Fall. What have some of the big themes been?
I think obviously the overriding topic this week was Dlamini, who's the former head of the SRC at Wits University and purported to be the leader of the Fees Must Fall movement, who got arrested on Sunday last week and then denied bail on Wednesday. So that's been a big theme that's come through this week, and I think coupled to that has been a kind of shift in the conversation, which I found really interesting, kind of more almost away from the universities towards the ANC. So there was as much conversation about Dlamini as there was about the ANC this week, which is a new turn of events.
All right, let's talk about that. What were people saying about the African National Congress?
I think because Dlamini, one of the news reports that came out said he was an ANC member, some of the most shared content on social media has been the irony of an ANC member being arrested by the ANC for promises that the ANC have made, for fighting for those promises. And I think that shift in the spotlight to the people who can actually do something about what we're seeing play out at the university campuses is quite a helpful one.
Now, you mentioned briefly that people were talking about one of the leaders, and that would be Ebo Dlamini. And the story there is the support from Ebo Dlamini. What's the story about him on social media?
There's been less of a focus on him personally. I think quite a lot of the news content that we've been shared have been looking at who is this guy, where does he come from, and so some breakdown just on who he is. I think the overriding kind of theme, if you like, that's come through on social media is the support of him and just the fact that he was denied bail, the bizarre kind of reality that he's now sitting in a prison cell when rightly or wrongly for what he did, the kind of drawing the parallel between, the law has been front and center these past couple of months and years as we've looked at the Oscar Pistorius trial and all of that went through on social media. Why is this guy getting denied bail when others were granted bail? And so drawing that kind of inconsistency in the law being applied to people in different categories has been a big theme. I think what we're going to see play out is more of a focus on who he is. Who is Dlamini? Is he going to kind of lead this movement? But right now it's an outcry on the injustice that this movement, if you like, for the Fees Must Fall movement, as good as it is, it's being subverted by him being kept in jail. And what was surprising for me is that there's actually 9 times more support for Fees Must Fall than criticism against it in social media. And that was a surprise to me.
Is the movement still getting a lot of support as it did in the beginning on social media?
It's not the same volumes as it was, but in the last week we've seen over 100,000 kind of points of conversation, 35,000 people talking. So I think last year, October, when the whole thing blew up, it received a lot of attention. And I think that was people figuring out what is this about? What is Fees Must Fall? Should we care? Should we be worried? What can we do? And then it kind of lulled a bit, and this year, over the past month or two, has really picked up. And it's growing. It's not subsiding. It's actually getting bigger, which I think is an important thing to realize. Often on Twitter, you see trends come and go. We'll speak about them in a few minutes. But this is one that's not going away.
It's been over a year.
I think it's rightly so, yeah.
Yeah. There were other hashtags around this movement. Habib's apartheid was one of them as well.
Yeah, Habib's apartheid and then Take Back Wits were the 2 big themes that came through. Both of them, Habib's apartheid got about 12,000 mentions. The Take Back Wits, a similar amount, 10 to 12,000 for each of them. But it was a flash in the pan. They were kind of rose up one day and then the next day down 80% in volume, which is almost the opposite of what's happened with Fees Must Fall. And to me, it's encouraging that social media has kind of matured to the level that people can see through trends on Twitter which aren't helpful. And both of those, while there are elements of truth, in the Habib's apartheid curfew being instituted, kind of resembling history that we read about, in the history books about what went down in apartheid South Africa being reapplied here and people experiencing that in the flesh. I think it kind of has gone back to the fees must fall. In essence, what the whole thing is about is people need education in South Africa. And so the social media conversation, it kind of flashes up quickly on the Habib's apartheid or on the take back bits. But I think as people realize, hang on, those are really bad things to be following or trying to put weight behind. Let's talk about what the main thing is.
Yeah.
Twitter and Facebook have kind of
and that
reverted
backlash,
back
maybe
to
quickly
the main
there,
thing.
on Take Wits Back, there was a lot of backlash that the founders of that movement were not expecting. So if we can just briefly sum that up for us, what happened there?
So there, I think it was, there are a couple of categories of people that we see entering the conversation. And the students, they're two camps. They're the students who just want to study and kind of get their studies finished. Then there are the students who are saying, hang on, this is bigger than just us. We need to, even if this means it costs us a year, it's worth fighting for a lifetime of education. Then there's everybody else kind of in South Africa just looking in and thinking, what's going on? And the absent voice is the government voice. But I think in that take back Wits, it was the category of the students who are saying, we just want to finish our studies, starting a hashtag take back Wits. And rightly so, it got this huge backlash to say, take back for who? For what? You know, who's taking it back? And so that died almost as quickly as it started.
Yeah, JP Kloppers, thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight.
Thank you.
Now, JP Kloppers there is from Brands Eye. He is the CEO at Brands Eye. Now, we caught up with Jay Something from Mikasa, and he told us what his favorite piece of technology is.
I left you, then I kissed you on my return. I watched you.
Alright, what's up everyone? It's Jay here from Mikasa, and I wanted to let you guys know my favorite gadget is my PlayStation. I love my PlayStation in my free time. It makes me relax. So that is definitely my favorite gadget.
From every corner and every curve, and I wonder, was it all a blessing?
Young girls crossing our borders often find themselves alone in the big city of Johannesburg.
I came here when my pregnancy was 6 months.
Like many other girls from Zimbabwe, Abigail found her way here to the Central Methodist Church.
My friend who was raped, who was forced to have sex at the church.
I insisted that this needed to be handled with the police.
I think you don't have rights. You do what you don't want to do and you'll be forced.
Any refugee in a strange country is vulnerable to forms of abuse and manipulation.
I don't have any option. I can just continue to put the guys so that I can take care of.
Welcome back, and our producer Lewis Ijage has had the chance to review the Samsung 4K SUHD curved TV. This is what she thinks of it.
Every time people walk into my home, the first thing they say is, wow, Lebu, your TV is so gorgeous. And I say, I know, but there's a positive downside to that.
This positive being that it keeps me locked inside my house and away from trouble. Only this is not so great for my loved ones. The first thing that attracted me to this 55-inch Samsung SUHD TV was its slim curved body. It's even almost as slim as this 5 Rand coin. This TV comes with a One Connect box that connects memory stick or hard drives for easy access to your downloaded videos or music. Another thing that makes the Samsung 4K SUHD a joy to watch is its nano crystal color technology that brings the pictures to life. This is a smart TV after all, which means it comes with already installed applications such as YouTube, movie series streaming platforms such as Netflix and Showmax. These are of course features that can be enjoyed with a connection to the internet. The Samsung 55-inch 4K SUHD curved TV sells for over 25,000 Rand, and I think it is worth every penny.
Now, I just started playing with this TV about 2 weeks ago, and I must add that I'm very impressed with it, and I feel like it's a definite keeper.
Now, there was a time Chinese products were seen as cheap knockoffs, but now we have many of them like the Huawei, ZTE and Xiaomi. So this week on our social media poll, we asked you if you trust Chinese smartphones. It seems 63% of respondents say yes, they do trust Chinese phones. 31% says no, they do not trust Chinese phones. Then there's the other 6%, they say they don't really know. Now, that's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network, on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. We leave you with a promotional video of the next generation Nintendo console, the Nintendo Switch. From me and the rest of the network team, have a good one.